Hi. It's unbelievable.
It's heartbreaking, eh?
Well, it's heartbreaking, and I think that's the very word you used when we met last time, Shane. I'm Sharon Brett Kelly, and today on The Detail, I'm back in Titirangi with Councillor Shane Henderson a year after the Auckland Anniversary Weekend disaster that caused so much mayhem across the city. Why? Why is it still like this?
Yeah, so we're on Pataroa Road here and just looking at devastation. Slips still, in many respects, looking exactly like it did a year ago, just after the night of the storm. And look, as I said, it is really heartbreaking and I think personally confronting, certainly confronting for the residents here.
Have you not seen it? Have you seen it since, in the last 12 months?
I haven't seen this in a long time. Yeah, so coming down here is shocking.
We were here a year ago on this winding, hilly road where houses were teetering on the edge of slips. A giant kauri had toppled over, and the most dramatic sight, the landslide that took a chunk of road, huge piles, a footpath and a driveway, leaving a gaping hole. And it's still here, including the signs and barriers that stop people driving through.
Yeah, I can only say that Auckland Transport are doing their very best to get through and fix up all the slips that are sort of peppered across the Waitakere Ranges and actually the whole city. I
bet people would. I would say people living here, that statement just wouldn't be good enough for them.
I get that. And I've been dealing directly with residents here and they formed a really effective lobby group. It's called the STAR Group, the Stickered Titirangi Area Residents Group. You can tell that they're at their wits' end and they're desperate for progress. And this is kind of a visual representation that we're looking right now of maybe the lack of progress in their community, that they're desperate to get back on track.
This is just one of many neighbourhoods still struggling with the after effects of Friday, January the 27th, when a record 245 millimetres of rain fell in 24 hours.
We're live from the Auckland Domain where record-breaking torrential rain has formed a lake.
The Met Service has confirmed that yesterday was Auckland's wettest day on record.
With more than 1,500 emergency call-outs, every fire crew in the city responded.
3 people are dead and 1 is missing. A state of emergency is in place for 7 days.
As catastrophic levels of rain fell, bridges were destroyed.
Oh, we're not going across that bridge. There it goes.
Roads became fast-moving rivers in a matter of minutes.
The domestic terminal opened at midday, but the international terminal is not operating. No arrivals or departures before Sunday morning.
A waterfall in the driveway, water raging through this Browns Bay house. Nothing could stop it.
It became clear from Dominion Road to Eden Park, in Coatesville, the CBD, and out south, Auckland had been plunged underwater.
Mayor Wayne Brown also took in the damage from above. He's facing criticism about whether the state of emergency should have been declared hours before.
It was just a small part of the whole thing. You've got to understand that.
However, he says there is one obvious issue.
Some of those houses, when you think about it, actually shouldn't have been where they are.
The disaster still hangs over many Aucklanders. At my place, we're building a trench to try and save our low-lying home from future floods. Across the road, my neighbours are raising their house by a metre. My colleague Tom, on his daily bus ride over the Harbour Bridge, sees houses halfway down the cliff. And my plasterer friend Darren is still doing insurance repair jobs around the city.
We were actually doing another water-damaged house yesterday from the floods from January. It's been ongoing and it's been a huge... It's a big event. I'm not quite sure people realise how big it is or was.
But imagine living with this.
I'm not supposed to go into either of the 2 bedrooms because they're joined by a firewall. But where else am I going to go?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be in my bedrooms. But I've had independent geotechs come and tell me that I'm safe. I'm not going to slide down this landslide that we're standing in front of here now. The worst that would ever happen is my neighbour will crack off me. And they've said that that's not life-threatening.
And that's not Alicia Knowles' full story. We'll find out why her case is so much more complicated. But right now on Paturua Road in Titirangi, I'm staring at that gouged out hillside with Shane Henderson. Can it be fixed, is the first question.
Well, I believe it can be fixed. I'm not a roading engineer, right? But with the amount of money and expertise that needs to come to fix these things, I think we can get through and fix the stuff up, because we have to. We've got a duty to the public. But
is this not a priority?
It's absolutely a priority. There's been a hell of a process to get through and do a lot of the fixes, as you can kind of see. Securing the funding, securing the expertise in many cases has been a bit of an issue. Shortages of all manner of professionals, all these kind of barriers that are annoying and horrible for us that have been put in the way. Essentially, rebuilding a road into a hillside of the Waitaki Ranges is extremely difficult and expensive, and it's something that even through maintenance we're confronted with this all the time. So to rebuild it from scratch, that's a really tough gig.
I don't know how many houses are actually directly affected.
Yeah.
The people here, that's their driveway that they can't get to because it's part of the landslide. Yeah. It might just be a handful of houses, but still 12 months to be waiting.
Yeah. And the toll on people is just really stark, isn't it? It's been tough for people financially, emotionally. We need to focus on obviously repairing their community infrastructure, but also, looking at their categorisations and whether they're a Category 3 and whether they need their homes bought out because it's unsafe. I've been informed by staff that they're looking at completing 90% of those assessments by March. Mm-hmm. So getting to those categorisations quickly so we know which houses need to be bought out, and then getting that process done. We've had some buyouts in places like Muriwai so far, which is good. Yeah. So it's progressing. But that might be the answer, is that, look, we do need to fix this road, but we've got to get people safe, and that's a priority as well.
Titirangi was one of the hardest hit places a year ago. Yeah. What has been fixed here, do you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's been working through the process, and a lot of this year has been taken up with designing a plane and trying to fly it at the same time, right? I'm reminded of the Christchurch example, which took something like 9 years to go through a process. We had to go from scratch to figure out how do we respond to the situation, and all that categorisation framework, securing money, all that kind of stuff. That all took months and months of process, dealing with governments, all those things. So I think we're at the pointy end of the process now where we're actually rolling all that out, and people should be getting some money in their bank accounts if they're bought out as soon as possible, which is exciting. But it's hard for people here because they can't see physically on the ground what has happened, and it's been a year.
Of course, it's not just people in Titirangi struggling to move on.
Let's go and have a look at our landslide. Nearly a year ago to the day, the rain came.
On the North Shore, solo mum Alicia Knowles' townhouse is tucked down a cul-de-sac overlooking a lush gully of natives.
Never in a million years when I was looking at properties did I think I'm buying a vulnerable property. It's not cliff top, it's not oceanfront, it's not leaky. I thought, this is safe, I can live here.
Yeah.
And
so we've gone down the outside pathway.
And we're now looking at my neighbour who I'm joined to. So we're townhouses effectively, joined through a firewall down the middle.
You're above your neighbour.
I am, slightly raised above, but the landslide is directly behind my neighbour's house.
And I see on the door here it says entry prohibited.
So she's red stickered, whereas I'm yellow.
Okay.
Yeah. So red stickered. This is a rental property, and the tenants fled. The night that the rain came, they turned up on my doorstep screaming because the noise from the trees, and there's the slip.
Jeez. I can't see much of it beyond the ferns and things like that, but I can see.
The trees used to lap over the balcony. They lapped over the deck, so right down there. I mean, I remember when I filled out the insurance forms, they said, is it the size of a car, the size of a container ship? I'm like, yeah, I think this is probably more the size of a container ship than a car. You can see the wonky deck that's leaning off. There's no foundations under the bottom corner of the house anymore. Mm-hmm. Hence, it was red stickered and deemed risk to life. The landslide goes, they call it a scarp. The top of the landslide goes right up behind that property closer to my house. But the complicated situation we find ourselves in, which is confusing EQC, confusing the insurance company, confusing everyone, and now the council, is it's cross-lease common share. So I own this land where the land has slid as well, 50-50 common share. So it's both of our land. At the moment, it's proving very complicated to try and split a settlement. I haven't got anything from EQC, but my neighbour has. And that's because EQC have a policy whereby they will only deal with one insurance company when it's a cross-lease. And so they chose to deal with my neighbour's insurance company, not mine. She got deposited the money, but I own the land as well. So there's so much confusion and complication, and it's not just black and white, that's for sure.
So, okay, so the other owner of this property has money sitting in her bank account, and you think that you should get half of that? Is that what you want?
Well, in the end, when the likelihood of both of them being Category 3 and part of the government buyout, the likelihood is that the government will end up with that money. But at the moment, it's offsetting her mortgage, not mine. So I know that's a tough, bitter pill to swallow, where it could be helping to offset mine at the same time. But I just have to fight that fight and see how it lands.
So a whole year later.
It has been a year, and I am no closer to finding out any answers than I was a year ago.
Ideally, what would you like to do with this property?
There was the slim chance that I thought that they might have been able to cut my neighbour off through the firewall and stabilise the land behind our properties. But we are limited with access. As you can see, we're in the bush. You can't come up from behind the property. It backs onto a reserve, and there's neighbours on either side. So the access is limited. I would love to save my house. It's my home. I thought it would be mine and my son's forever home, and I love living here. So I would love to stay, but at the same time, I'm told that that's a very difficult job. Yeah. Fixing a landslide is costly. And the criteria of it being kept in my ownership is that the repairs would need to cost no more than 25% of my CV. So I would need to fix a landslide for under $225,000.
Oh, well, that's not going to happen.
No, landslides cost over $1 million to repair, it turns out. We received initial geotech pricing, and this was going to be $1.17 million to repair.
Let's look at those categories, because by the end of March, thousands of property owners will find out where they sit. There are 3 categories and 3 subcategories, and you can read about them on Auckland Council's website. Alicia is hoping for a Category 2P so that she can hold on to her forever home. But she admits it looks highly unlikely, and she'll be a Category 3 buyout.
So I'm sort of in that, maybe you call it denial, I don't know, but never say never. I'm a fight till the end kind of person.
Right.
And trying to be so incredibly optimistic and hopeful. At the same time, staring down the barrel of a level 3 category is very, very scary for me. I happen to just by chance purchase in the height of the market. And then the Category 3 buyout is based on January 2023 valuations. And we were at a very, very much low. So, and then the Auckland Council and government are taking a 5% contribution, which has been quite controversial because they aren't doing that in Hawke's Bay. They're getting CV and you walk away. Whereas here it's January valuations and 5% contribution from the owner. So I'm a little scared that I may end up with a mortgage and no home. It's not a clear-cut black and white case, this one. So I'm hoping that doesn't hold up a March categorisation for me because, like you say, it's been a long time waiting.
Yeah, that's right. But if it turns out you are Category C, is that compulsory, it's a compulsory buyout?
Someone asked me that yesterday. They said, but the buyout's not compulsory. And I laughed and I said, no, you're right. It's a voluntary buyout. But if I stay in the house, I won't have insurance, which means I won't have a mortgage. Oh. There goes any voluntary buyout. Yeah. It's compulsory.
Yeah, it's compulsory.
It's compulsory unless you own the land and own the house freehold and don't have a mortgage and don't need ever to have insurance, then it's not. And that's
is there any part of your house that you can't go into?
I'm not supposed to go into either of the 2 bedrooms because they're joined by a firewall. But where else am I going to go?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be in my bedrooms.
That's tricky.
It's a tricky thing. But I'm yellow placarded, and the advice is to not go into the bedrooms. The placard was done by a lovely gentleman, but with no building experience. He was an ex-police officer that had been with the council briefly, and he came in and put a yellow placard on it. I've had independent geotechs come and tell me that I'm safe. I'm not going to slide down this landslide that we're standing in front of here now. The worst that would ever happen is my neighbour will crack off me, and they've said that that's not life-threatening. I'm not fearing for my life until I see a forecast similar to what we had in January last year. No. But we're just taking you to have a quick look out the back of the house where I have a nice view of my slip. So that was a horrific sound, just listening to the foundations of the balcony that we're looking at now, just falling down into the bush. So the sound of trees being ripped out and washed away, it's a sound I'll never forget. That caused a few nightmares in the weeks afterwards, just that sound of the ripping and then the whoosh of it just sliding down the landslide. Yeah.
I spoke to Shane Henderson, who's a councillor for West Auckland, and he said one of the hardest things he's had to deal with is when people come to him and they share their stories about marriage breakdowns and mental health issues. Mm-hmm. In your groups, do you see that kind of thing?
Very much so. It's led to a relationship breakdown for me. I had a tough year and became someone that I don't think I truly was. And it affected my parenting, I'm not going to lie. I became very preoccupied, a bit almost verging on obsessive with the getting everything sorted quickly. It's having my neighbour who I own the land with, her mental health is really, really struggling, and it's heartbreaking seeing her in tears. It really is. And she's the loveliest lady. And that was her retirement fund that she was going to sell off and live happily ever after, and just watching what it's doing to her, and just knowing how tough she's doing it financially, because she has to meet those mortgage payments all on her own without the help of any rent coming in.
Back on Paturua Road, Shane Henderson can't make any promises about fixing the chunk of road that is disrupting so many lives.
My instinct is that a permanent solution could be many years off, potentially.
I'm just wondering if I can see people in that house. I don't know how comfortable you are, but I'm thinking I might go and... So why don't I...
We might just have you answer it.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Hello, hi. I'm Sharon Brett Kelly. I'm with the Detail podcast, and and this is Shane Henderson, who's the local councillor. Yeah. We're just I'm doing a follow-up podcast since it's the anniversary of the terrible slips here and this.
Yeah, I'm in a hurry, but I would love to talk about the problems we are having.
Oh, okay.
So we have no driveway.
No, I can see that. Yeah. I can see that.
My partner parks his car here, so he's the owner. Yeah. And I park my car there.
But beyond the road closed sign?
It's on an everyday basis. I carry my bags from there, my shopping, and I stay more than half a week over here.
What have you been told?
Because I know what's been happening. So we have been told that there would be some work started, but there's been no date given to that. And can I comment? We're not very happy with the way the council is operating, because they have spent about a lot of money in repairing the small staircase over here.
Oh, yeah? Just beyond the major slip?
Yeah. The number of people using that staircase and the number of people using this is much more.
Yeah. You sound very frustrated to me.
No, we are, because we're the only ones who don't have a driveway, and every week, I'm like literally living 6 days a week over here. I carry my stuff, it's like...
Do you have children here as well?
No.
So you don't have to worry about that.
And we can't invite guests.
No.
Because, like, where do they park the car?
What's it like when it rains? More than just a heavy shower?
It's an anxiety, because, to be honest, when this Gabriel happened, my partner was standing over there and he saw it, slipping washed out, and he was quite traumatized. And got him home, and like he couldn't believe this happened, and he could not do anything. And look at this.
Yeah,
and if you see our garden, it's so beautiful, and all this is gone. And look, everything. The council talks of beautifying, but there are trees lying around over here, and nothing is being done to get that stuff.
Councillor Shane Henderson is right here. What would you? What's your response, Shane?
Yeah, no, look, I agree with you completely. I'd be really interested in working on your case, and I'd like to know when you've last heard from council, because it sounds like you've been
It's November.
Right.
Yeah.
November.
Yeah.
So basically, they were having a meeting over here. You know, I want to know the exact details.
For
because,
sure.
It's my partner who's spoken to them.
Yeah.
Because it's not only about me.
Yeah.
Living over here.
Yeah.
There are so many
It's a
people living
community.
on this road.
Yeah.
I see them walking every day.
Yeah.
And they put this fence.
Yeah.
The community got fed up.
Yep.
And then they broke the fence because the fence has been there for 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh, they broke the fence so that people could get through.
Because you see, the fence was closed and it was difficult to walk around with dogs and kids and everything. So the community got upset and they sort of broke the fence so that, nothing is happening for the last 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. Right, I'll do my best. I'm on the case.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
No worries.
Thanks, Sandy. Thanks for your time. This conversation that you've just had with Sandy is an example of the kind of thing that people are going through all over the city, not even just in Titirangi.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's an Auckland-wide issue. Actually, other parts of the country as well. Right?
That's right. We must remember that.
Yeah.
Your year ahead, what do you want to, what are your goals?
Well, I'm staring at a terrifying slip in front of me in Titirangi. I think we should try and fix this one up. That'd be a good goal. I would like at the end of the year for people, by and large, to feel like they've moved on from the storm as best they can. It's going to be traumatic for years, and I personally will be thinking about it for years whenever there's heavy rains, right? But we got a Category 3 dangerous situation by the end of the year, money in your bank account, moved on with your family into a safe community, and we're starting to design the community solution so that people that do want to stay in their suburbs can.
Does it bring back memories of that dreadful weekend?
Just yesterday, I was actually at the flooded out bridge that I was manning, and that was really traumatising, really tough.
Why? What sort of memories did it bring back for you?
Just telling people they can't go and drive around to their homes, and people afraid for their lives, and it was hard. It was really hard.
What's it like now? I mean, I can see that you're quite emotional about it.
Yeah. I think my emotion about it is actually shared by a lot of West Aucklanders, even those that weren't personally affected through their homes. Yeah. So it's hard when you're in bed and it's 2 a.m. and all of a sudden it starts hooning down with rain. There's a lot of heartbroken people out there. That sucks. That's going to take some time to get through. And there's only so much we can do in terms of a council process. At some point, time is going to heal the wounds.
That's all for today. I'm Sharon Brett-Kelly. The Detail is supported by RNZ and NZ On Air. This episode was engineered by William Saunders and produced by Alexia Russell. Thanks to Alicia Knowles, Shane Henderson and Sandy from Paturoa Road. Mā te wā.